Welcome to CS 105.1, where I talk about sports, movies, with good vibes. On today's podcast, I'll be talking about the blowout the Nuggets had against the Celtics in the Abu Dhabi Games, plus Avs, Broncos, and New York basketball. Let's get it. I wouldn't be able to make this podcast without its amazing equipment. So first, I'd like to give a shout out to Røde with the Røde USB Pod Mic, as well as Insta360 for the webcam I'm using, and then Nanlite with all the lighting that I have. What's up, everyone? So, crazy day, crazy weekend with Colorado sports. Start off with Avs losing 1-2 against Utah, brand new team, and they're already beating the Avs in preseason. Luckily, it's preseason, and hopefully the Avs are taking note. Still really unfortunate not to see the Avs get more than just one win. But then the big blowout with the Nuggets losing 104-130 against the Celtics. Of course, I'm going to dive into that soon. But thank God for the Broncos. Didn't think I'd be saying that on anytime soon. But thank God for them. They got finally the W against the Raiders, 18-34. Got Colorado a win today. Nice. And then a big day for New York basketball. So Knicks had their first preseason game, right? And they went against the Charlotte Hornets and beat them by only 2. I watched that game as well, and I was kind of wanting to watch all these games before I even went on the air here. So, but yeah, that my big takeaway from that one is that like a lot of the first preseason games, there's a lot of rust on a lot of these teams. So they had to work through a lot of that, and they won 111-109. It came down to the wire. Like, that was a really close game. I didn't expect that to be such a close game, especially with the Hornets. But Cat, as you know, the big trade happened with the Timberwolves and the Knicks. I'm not very happy. The Knicks are my favorite Eastern Conference team right now. So with that, I really latched on to the team that was last year. And I was even excited for Mikal Bridges coming in. I thought that was a really good trade. And I thought that really gave them some extra shooting material that they needed. But then the big trade that just happened, I'm not a fan of it. Because one thing, I do not like Cat. He is super freaking soft. And he's always like... He reminds me of a clown. Whenever he gets hit, and then falls and gets a foul or whatever, like, he's overplaying it all the time. He's overplaying every foul. Like, some guy blows air on him, and all of a sudden he's like overreacting, falling on the floor. Like, I don't like him. Him and Gobert both annoy the shit out of me. And so to see Cat being now on the Knicks, I feel very mixed about it. I do know that he does tend to be some kind of good shooter when he wants to be, but a lot of people praising him right now. You got to remember, this playoff season, he was horrendous. He was not the reason why the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets. That was Ant, and then also the defense that was put on Jamal and a lot of the other Nuggets players. So, but Cat was definitely not one of the reasons. With the Knicks trading Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, 2 players who were huge in the success throughout the season last year, except for the fact that Julius Randle got hurt and he was out for the second half of the season, which really sucked. But the Knicks were able to bounce back, and I really loved that. And especially Dante, man, he was the reason why they made it and as far as they did. Like, with Brunson getting hurt in the playoffs and still trying to battle it out. You got Josh Hart, who was battling it out to the very end. And when they both couldn't do it anymore and OG Anunoby got out, you relied on Dante. He was the one that kept them going. And so it was really sad to see him be traded. Plus a first-round pick. Like, I don't understand why you would trade Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, plus a first-round pick for Cat. I understand that it's just a money thing, and they just needed to compensate for his fee. But man, I'm not very happy with that trade. And so with today's preseason game, I mean, again, not very impressive from Cat. Like, he went 1 for 5 in threes. He made 1 out of the 5 attempts for threes that he made, and he's supposed to be known for making threes. We didn't see it. So, I mean, Brunson made more threes. McBride made more threes. I don't understand why you would have traded for Cat, because Dante was just, if you ask me, he's actually better in threes than Cat is. So, call me crazy. But the one thing that kind of eased me up a little bit, and I know this is just the first game of the preseason, and Cat will mesh better with the team as the team goes on. That's the hope. And I'm going to be bitter about that playoff, or that trade, until the Knicks make the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm just prepared for that as well. But the one thing that helped me this game kind of ease off a little bit of Dante getting traded was that Shamet did a great job, and the whole bench actually carried a lot of that game. So that was really nice to see. Brunson, of course, did a good job for the minutes that he was playing. He didn't play a lot of minutes, but he did do a lot. And I was actually surprised at how listening to the players that Tibbs was this time around. Because normally he's playing them as hard as he can, but this time around he didn't play his starters as long as he normally does. So that was very interesting, and trusting, to try to build the bench and the fourth string players and everything. So that was really cool. So and then surprise game from McBride. All right, that was awesome. Got 22 points, made the most points out of the entire game, which is crazy. So, but he's always been a good bench player. Like, he's another reason why the Knicks did so well in the playoffs. So, and then the one game that actually mattered today, right? With WNBA, Liberty went on to beat the Aces and head on to the finals. I'm so happy for the Liberty. Love Sabrina Ionescu and Stewie and all of them. Jacquel, like, that was a really awesome game to see, especially. I'm not a big Aces fan, but I do like some of the players on there, especially Aja Wilson. I mean, you got to give it up for her. There's a reason why she's the MVP. So, and she definitely showed it in this one. The only thing in this game was that I felt like the refs were leaning a little bit more towards the Aces. There was some ticky-tack calls they were calling that they didn't really need to be called, and even some that were like arguable if that was actually a foul or not. And then the Aces, because the Aces were really rough. They were really rough against the Liberty, especially with Kelsey Plumlee tackling Sabrina. Like, that was just crazy. And then, I mean, they had no choice but to call a foul on that one. But, I mean, that could have easily have gone to a jump ball when it was already blatantly a foul. And there was many of those kind of calls. So, but nevertheless, Liberty went on to now be in the finals. Very happy for them. I'm rooting for them. Hopefully they win the finals. They deserve it. Best team this entire season. So awesome. All right. So game 2 in Abu Dhabi, Nuggets versus Celtics. This time it was Celtics home court. Though, because the Celtics are one of the most profitable teams in the NBA, they have an advantage over anyone other than the Knicks, the Lakers, and the Bulls and the Warriors. Because not a lot of other people around the world are cheering for any other team other than those ones. And so the Nuggets, they have some clout right now because they have Jokic, they have a championship on their belt recently, a recent championship, right? So they have some followers and everything. Most of them Eastern European, the Baltic area, but there's a little bias already between the Nuggets and the Celtics. And so even in the home game, the home game for the Nuggets, it still kind of felt like a home game for Boston. I mean, you had the NBA app not doing a Denver feed on the Denver home game. Their NBA app was linked to the Boston feed, which was bullshit. And then this time around with the Boston home game, you didn't have a Denver feed at all again, which I understand that it's a Boston home game, so maybe you lean more towards Boston, but the fact that you had leaned towards them already in the Denver home game, maybe give Denver a little chance to kind of say some stuff. But that's the one thing that pisses me off about Boston and their arrogant attitudes, is that they may have, or what they perceive as 18 championships, which I'm going to stop myself and go back right now. And I'm just going to say right now, Celtics, you don't have 18 championships. I don't care what you say or what anyone else says, you don't have 18. Nothing before 1980 counts. You know why? Because when you won the majority of your titles, there was 6 other teams playing against you. Now there's 30. It's a completely different league than it was when you won the year. So it's like basically saying that you won the summer league and you're adding that to your championship title reign. It doesn't count. So you don't have 18. You have 6. Okay. Lakers, same thing. But in this case, if nothing does count before 1980, then the Lakers actually still do have the most amount of championships. They have 11. But I'm telling you right now, don't come at me with your 18 championships. That's bullshit. You don't have 18. You have 6. So you can stop that arrogant bullshit right now. There's so many other countries around the world who are already biased towards Boston, Lakers, Warriors, Bulls, and Knicks because they have the most amount of money. And so even if it's a home game for Denver, you still have more Celtics fans because that's what the narrative has been pushed. The narrative hasn't been favoring the Nuggets at all. And it was a struggle for them to even get that one championship. And hopefully Jokic is able to bring them to some glory and get some more. But it's been a long road, and we've been fighting it out, battling it out for that respect, that attention, you know. And so this one, it would have been nice to have some Denver voices. Now, in regards to commentators for each team, right? The announcers or whatever. No, it would be the commentators because the announcers are the ones at the game. The commentators are the one that you're hearing while you're watching the game at home. So the commentators for each team varies. And if it's not Chris Marlowe and Scott Hastings and Katie Winging, then I don't really want to hear them, to be honest, because the great thing about Denver is that we play right. We play by the rules, and we acknowledge and respect the other team, the other fan base. At least we try to as much as possible. And those who don't aren't true Nuggets fans and don't truly represent the Nuggets. They were the ones that bandwagoned on after our championship. But for the most of us, we have had 47 years of losing. And so we are very humble in trying to maintain a certain level of status now because we don't want to go back. But we understand that during a game, there is some good plays with the other team. And so we'll call it out. And they'll say, they'll give out some flowers to whoever made the good play. Boston does not do that. But one team that surprisingly does is the Lakers. I actually do appreciate the Lakers commentators. I was just watching the Lakers-Suns game, and the Suns won. But throughout the entire game, they were very respectful to the Suns. Boston, not the same thing. The only one that they were actually respectful to was Jokic, and you kind of have to be. Like I've said before, you kind of have to be respectful to him, but you should be respectful to the entire rest of the team. The other thing that really freaking annoys me is I'm sorry, Celtics fans, but you have the worst announcer in the league. I'm sorry, but you do. He is so freaking annoying. Every time that you guys score, his voice shouting out is like nails on a chalkboard to me. We, the Nuggets, I will gloat right now. We have the best announcer. Okay, Spelling is the best announcer. And also, going back to that first game in Abu Dhabi, he was respectful of the Celtics. And every time they won, he actually gave them a level of respect in announcing that they had scored. Your guys' announcer did not do that. He treated it like it was nothing. It was like, Jamal Murray got a shot. Like, the level of respect is completely off. And so that actually kind of goes to the number one thing that I've noticed in this Abu Dhabi game is that the Celtics went into it treating it as if it was the finals. You guys wanted to squash the Nuggets as much as possible. Meanwhile, the Nuggets went into this 2 games knowing that it's a preseason game and they want to just try to work about how to get better, work out the kinks. And so when you have one team battling it for a championship where there's actually no championship involved versus one who's basically coming for practice, it's going to be a mismatch already. You need both teams to have the same level of focus. And the Nuggets didn't have that. And they didn't really need to have that. They shouldn't have that. The Celtics shouldn't be that tied into what they're doing right now. It's preseason. Lay off a little bit. Because also, Joe Mazzulla played the starters way too long. In my opinion, they got played way too hard and way too long. And that's going to come back to bite you. Mark my words. That's going to come back to bite the Celtics. So be careful of playing your starters for way too long. Speaking from experience, as Malone did with our starters through the majority of the season. So I know y'all are excited for your next championship. Don't put your cart before the horse, though. So the big thing with the announcer not being very biased. So the announcer was biased. The NBA app was biased. And a little bit of the refs I felt like were biased. Like everything was in favor for the Celtics to begin with. And with this game 2 there, the big caveat going in was that we didn't even have our full starters. Now, I know the argument, the rebuttal to that is that you didn't have Kristaps Porzingis. But that was one guy. And you were able to win a title without that one guy. So I don't really count that as anything because we were missing more than one guy that actually helps us. AG is a tank. He is our main, in the paint guy. Then you have Michael Porter Jr., MPJ, who is our main 3-point shooter. And then we have Russell Westbrook was out, our key to our bench right now, along with DeAndre Jordan wasn't played, another backup big. And then on top of that, we have an injury with Peyton Watson. Like, this whole thing would have been completely different had both teams been, healthy. And I guarantee you the outcome would have been a lot different with the Nuggets on top. Because in that game 1, if Malone had played the starters and the first string bench players a lot longer than he did and didn't go into the 5th string players, then I truly believe that the Nuggets would have won game 1. Because essentially you had all-star level players playing against G League. That's just a mismatch. And of course you guys are going to win when that's the thing. And that was actually the thing in this next, in today's game, the second game, was you had Jaylen Brown dunking on G Leaguers and trying to rub it in their faces. Like, the big thing for me that I saw was this plain and simple. Jokic is better than all of the Celtics starters combined. Because he carried us. He pretty much carried us. Like, the minutes that he played in the game today, he outscored everyone on the Celtics. So he's already, in my eyes, better than your entire roster. So, and especially your starters. But then we do have some holes in a lot of our roster. So if we had some more players that Jokic could actually play off of, or we didn't have to rely so much on Jokic, then it would be a different story for sure. So, but it really sucked that AG wasn't there. MPJ, Westbrook, DJ, like I said. Hunter Tyson, I felt like kind of stepped up. He played the most amount of minutes today, and he scored 8 points. But I felt like what he did, he worked hard. And when you see just a lot of effort being put into the minutes that you're gaining on the floor, it really shows. And even if you don't make a lot, like, it just shows that you're trying. And that's all that really you can ask for, is just for the players to try, rather than ball watching or just standing there occasionally. And there's several players, and you can name a few from several different teams that do that. And so it was nice. Like, he was sweating profusely all over his head. Like, it was his hair looked very very wet, very drenched. And then you had Strother. So Strother and Vlatko filled in for the starters, which was a little bit weird. I would have probably have not put Vlatko in the starting position, but I know that without those other guys that were missing, Malone was in a tight spot, so he put Vlatko in there. Vlatko's better as a bench player. I feel like I love Vlatko, and I think he's great. He works better on the bench. And Strother, he went for 17, so he was really good today. I mean, I think he's probably the most impressive nugget coming from last season. Like, about him and MPJ, like, those two right there have done a lot of hard work to try to get better, and you can see it. So definitely props to Strother for working hard, and Hunter Tyson. There was a lob from Yoke. I forget which quarter it was. I think it was the second quarter. Yoke lobbed the ball up for Hunter, and he slammed it down. And that was pretty awesome to see Hunter get up that high. I didn't know that he could dunk. So that was pretty cool. And then the Nuggets are plagued with free throw, like, with lack of talent in free throws. Like, I don't know what it is and when they're gonna get it together to actually focus on trying to make free throws, because we get to the line several times. I mean, we probably should get to the line more than we do, but at least when we do get to the line, they're still missing them. Like, we missed several free throws again in this game. And that's just something that should not be happening. We should not be missing that much. And I don't want to go through another season where we're last in free throws. That just is going to be really, it's too sad. It's too much to bear. Two other players that I just don't know what to do with is Jalen Pickett and Zeke Naji. So Pickett, every time, I mean, he's got the ball, and I hate to be haters against any of the Nuggets fans. I'm not trying to be a hater against them. It's just that they've been given several chances to be better, and they just have not gotten better. And I don't understand why the Nuggets hold on to them at this point. I mean, it was so easy for them to get rid of KCP and for Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson had some good minutes. He had some bad minutes, but at least he actually made some contributions throughout the season. And if it was my choice, I probably would have kept him instead of Zeke Naji. But I understand that there's probably a wage dispute there or whatever. And then, like, watching the Suns Lakers game, it was a reminder that Colin Gillespie got traded over to the Suns, or actually didn't get picked up by the Nuggets at all, and then got picked up by the Suns. I would have kept Colin because he was a good 3-point for the bench. Like, he's got some shooting skills in him, and a lot better than most of the bench that we have right now. I would have definitely have kept him, gotten rid of Pickett. Like, that's the move I would have done. I would have kept Gillespie and traded Pickett to the Suns, because Pickett has not been great at all, and Malone keeps on playing him lots of minutes, hoping that he gets better, and he doesn't get better. And so it's really sad. It's really agonizing to see him out there all the time. And I mean, Naj had a really good, or not a bad game on the first game, but then this game it was back to, the consistency is not there with Zeke. So, and then we did, however, make more threes. Or at least we attempted more threes this time around. We didn't make a lot of threes, but we did at least attempt more. So last game, we went 12 for 32. This game, we went 8 for 34. So we attempted 2 more than last game and made 4 less than last game. So threes is still a huge, horrendous plague against us as well, and hopefully they correct that this preseason. I want to see them be on the level of Timberwolves and Celtics, in threes, making threes. Even the Mavericks, I know, make a lot of threes. So like I said before, there's a lot of bias in favor of the Celtics, and one example was that Tatum was going to the basket. I think this was like in the third quarter, maybe second quarter, and he got a foul favored for him, foul on the Nuggets as he was traveling to the basket. And I swear, I don't even need to swear, he literally traveled. He took 3 steps, and maybe they changed this rule. I don't know when they changed it. They didn't really make it a big announcement about it, but people be traveling lots lately within the past couple of years. Like the 2-step rule has now gone into, you can take 3 steps as long as you're traveling to the basket. But if you're pivoting and you move your pit foot, then all of a sudden it's travel. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand, but I don't like that my Nuggets get called for traveling and the Celtics don't when they clearly traveled. It's just bullshit. And then there was a play where the Celtics double-teamed Strother in the third quarter, and Keita was over Strother's back, which would have been clearly a foul, and yet they didn't call it. And then the Nuggets did the same thing to Keita, and they called it on the Nuggets. So just this very biased, lack of inconsistent calling when playing the Boston Celtics is just frustrating, especially being any other team playing against the Celtics, unless you're the Lakers. Like, it's just really disgusting trying to battle both the refs and the Celtics. So the big thing also with our bench, with the Nuggets bench, is that there's not as much maturity. Like, there are a lot of young guys on that bench, and they're just not mature enough. They're still trying, I don't know if they're even trying at this point, but it's just really not maturing fast enough. Their skill level, and we are constantly being plagued with a lot of these rookie mistakes from people who are third years, second years into their career, and they're still making rookie mistakes. It's really frustrating. Like, I mean, Jalen Pickett's being one of the key offenders there. It's just, it's frustrating. So at the end of the game, Coach Malone gave the excuse that they were exhausted from the traveling. And he gave this kind of similar excuse last season. And I love Coach Malone, so don't get me wrong. I'm not ragging on on Moch, but and I will say this: he is one of the more honorable coaches in the league. I feel like, because he doesn't give excuses for the refs. He never says that they lost because of the refs. That's for the fans. We do that, but they don't. He never says that. He never uses that as an excuse. But the one common excuse that he does give for whenever they do lose is exhaustion. And I'm kind of a little tired with him giving the excuse of exhaustion, because as it's been said several times, and definitely, Charles Barkley has said this, and I agree with him 100%, is that these are guys getting paid millions of dollars to play a game. So exhaustion, like there are several, like millions of people working all over the nation, all over the world in jobs that are physically like physical labor. They work 9-to-5 jobs and they want to go home, but they have to continue to work in like shipping yards, or in like truck drivers, like these blue collar workers who are working nonstop, and they are exhausted, and they want a break, but they can't afford to take a break. And NBA players all of a sudden like, I'm too exhausted, I need some break or whatever from this game, or it doesn't sit well with a lot of blue collar people when that's the excuse that you're giving is exhaustion. Like, we're all tired. You're getting paid millions of dollars to play this game, so how about you kind of suck it up? I mean, if we're looking at trying to be healthy and trying to not take it so hard because it's preseason, I can understand that. I understand why they went into this game thinking or with the mindset of it being preseason, because it is preseason. But I kind of wish they would have just gone into it with a little bit more effort, because to at least gotten one win against the Celtics in preseason would have been nice, would have shut up a lot of Celtics fans. And a lot of them are now saying, that they're not worried about the Nuggets. But again, I would remind you, Celtics fans, that you did not get the full Nuggets experience. You got G Leaguers and people wanting to be on the roster facing your A-listers, okay? Your all-stars. So when it comes to regular season, and we're dealing with the true bench players that we're going to play, and the true starters that we're going to play, it's still going to be heavily matched or evenly matched, and it will be a fight. So I still believe that we're the one of the few that are able to take the Celtics down. Don't get too cocky right now. This is only the preseason just started. We haven't even gone into regular season, and you're all already thinking that you're going to get another title. I don't think so. I mean, as upset as I am about the Knicks with that trade with Cat, I think that they've gotten better for sure, and they're going to come after you. And I mean, I haven't seen yet the Sixers play, but they have Paul George on there now, so that's going to make them better. And you still have Tyrese Maxey on there. That's gonna he's a threat for sure. So I think it's gonna be a much different season this year than it was last year for you, and it's gonna be a rude awakening for you. Well, that's all I got for this episode. I hope you liked it, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe. I won't be back until next weekend when the Nuggets come back on after their long trip. I believe they're facing the Suns on ESPN, so hopefully I can get that. It's a little tricky to get ESPN, but you've been listening to CS 105.1, sports, movies, and good vibes.